Two short words that Democratic voters have been longing to hear for 8 years, yet even after the election, many left wondering whether they would ever hear them at all. Our fourth story in the countdown, President Obama today making clear which party now has the stronger bargaining position, reminding Republican lawmakers about the election, quote, I won. President Obama sitting down at the White House today with Democratic and Republican leaders of both houses of Congress to discuss the economic stimulus package. Sources familiar with the off-camera portion of the conversation telling Politico that after Republicans laundry listed their gripes to the president, Mr. Obama took charge of the negotiations with this two-word reminder about November. I won. At another point, the president telling GOP lawmakers about the U.S. economy, quote, this is a grave situation facing the country. Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Reid both taking their cues from the Commander-in-Chief. Congresswoman Pelosi saying that the bill was on track for passage in the House. Senator Reid, when asked if he was concerned Republicans could block the bill's passage in the Senate, answering no. In his inaugural address on Tuesday, the president signaling it was time for the government to assume a bigger role in fixing the nation's economic problems. House Minority Leader Boehner, though, complaining today that government is not the solution. Tax breaks are.
At the end of the day, the government can't solve this problem. The American people have to solve it. And the way they can solve it is if we allow them to keep more of the money that they earn.
When the cameras were still in the room, President Obama focusing on what unites both positions and the urgency of the crisis.
I know that it is a heavy lift to do something as substantial as we're doing right now. I recognize that there are still some differences around the table and between the administration and members of Congress about particular details on the plan. But what I think unifies this group is a recognition that we are experiencing a unprecedented, perhaps, economic crisis that has to be dealt with and dealt with rapidly.
Let's call in our own Howard Fineman, senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Was this a much-needed reminder from the president today that bipartisanship no longer means Republicans get everything they want and the Democrats say, okay?
Well, the Democrats have the numbers, but I think Obama was saying two things. First of all, he's saying that he's willing to listen and talk. You have to look at this in context. Barack Obama, the president, was perfectly willing to listen to and even provisionally say he would want further discussions on some of the Republican proposals, including some tax proposals from the House Republican leadership. But he was also making clear that while he's willing to listen, the Democrats have the numbers, and they don't just have them by accident. They have them because the American people spoke in November.
Do you think the president is mortified that the I-1 line got out, or is he delighted that the I-1 line got out?
Well, on the scale from mortification to delight, I would say it's a 9, close to delight. Barack Obama doesn't say anything by accident. I have rarely, if ever, seen him do that. He knew this was a room full of people who liked the yak. Of course it was going to get out. And his point was, again, the Democrats won a historic victory in November. They have huge majorities in both the House and the Senate. And again, that's not an accident. That's an expression of the will of the American people. He might want to amend his statement to say not only I won, but we won in the case of the Democrats, because that's really what he was saying.
To some degree, is that part of this, too? I mean, was the president taking care of his traumatized fellow Democrats and helping them regrow backbones here? Was it kind of a reminder, hey, you know, we did win. We do have the final say to a large extent, at least?
Well, he's trying to shake them awake, I suppose you could say. He's also telling them, in addition to grow a backbone, to grow some ears, to listen. And it's a delicate thing, and Obama, I think, so far, it certainly was true in the campaign, it's hard to tell so far, the few days into his administration, knows the balance between listening and discussing and deciding. That's the way he operated his campaign. They had big open discussions inside the campaign, sometimes very vehement disagreements. Then he made the call and they moved forward. He's hoping it's the same way here. It's a little different between a campaign and a Congress, as he's about to find out. But he's trying to show them that they need both backbone, and they should be proud of and use, to the extent they can, the momentum of the victories they won in November.
Do the Democrats, in fact, have sufficient backbone to go this alone if need be? Are the votes there without any Republican cooperation? Can the Dems pass the stimulus plan without any help?
Well, Harry Reid was talking big today. I talked to a Senate Democrat today, though, on background, who said, look, We don't know what the Republicans are up to. The House is pretty much a done deal because the rules allow the strong Democratic majority there to really run things. There's nothing Republicans can do. The Senate, as we all know, is different. The Democrats have a big majority, 58. We see what's going to happen in Minnesota. Would the Republicans dare, in the end, filibuster a giant $800 billion piece of legislation designed to save the economy? It's doubtful, but you never know. And as one Democrat said to me, look, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, is playing things very, very close to the vest. I've been surprised, Keith, how perfunctory and shallow the expressions of bipartisanship have been from the Republicans. Perhaps they see what's coming, which may be a steamroller.
Perhaps they need more time for things like Mr. Boehner bringing in, bringing in all the stuff that he brought. Why did he do that? Do you have any idea why he brought in reproductive rights and things into this?
It's because it sells to his base, and I admit I don't know Boehner well enough yet.
Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC. Would have been a different story if there was something in this bill that supported tanning salons. Howard, great thanks. Mr.
It's sunny in Ohio.
Well,
it's sunny in Ohio.
In January in Ohio for Mr. Boehner. All right. Have a good weekend, Howard.